So, welcome to Daily Practice, and today we are going to discuss something called escaping the white bear. So, many of the examples we lose in our life, which have a positive purpose, we have a way in which we behave, but what flourishing means is also about creating the state of mind that is positive, happy, confident, energized, optimistic, resilient. So many of the examples we have in our life, can we tick all these boxes? Positivity, happiness, confidence, energy, optimism, resilience. And in this state of mind, trying to achieve a positive state is a bit trickier. Many of us are not there to be able to achieve this. Many of our attempts to control our thoughts and our feelings in order to achieve a certain state of mind to be happier or less depressed. For example, we feel like we are not very successful. In fact, we often end up feeling exactly the opposite of what was intended. So, when you form a new intention or purpose, your brain initiates two powerful processes that make that happen. The first is the conscious operating process, the job of what we call our executive self. And second is most powerful monitoring process that automatically checks if you're not achieving that purpose. So these two processes, the first which is in conscious operating process and the second which is a monitoring process, these two systems work together well. And when they do, you will achieve whatever you set out to do. Generally, when your purpose is to do something, get the dinner ready or produce 1,000 widgets a week, these two systems work in tight harmony. So your executive self has to make that happen. Meanwhile, your monitoring system is looking for any negative information on your progress. Potatoes not peeled, table not set, already Wednesday, and not on target. And that information is communicated to the executive self, who then has to try harder or change tactics to get back in control. However, when it comes to trying to take control of your thoughts and feelings, it rather tries it very difficult in a difficult situation. It tries to take control of your thoughts and feelings and your behavior. It becomes trickier. So the two systems work against each other, and you can end up in exactly the opposite state of mind of what you intended. So we are familiar with this phenomenon. The more you try to feel happy, the more you find reasons for not being happy. The more you try to feel sleepy, the more wide awake you become. That you try to stop worrying and end up worrying about worrying. You are anxious in case you say the wrong thing and end up saying the thing you least wanted to say. You wanted to be positive, but every single reason not to be happy floods into your mind. You instruct yourself to stop being anxious and immediately find your heart fluttering, your neck muscles are rigid, and your stomach is in turmoil. You set out to stop being depressed or insecure, yet you end up feeling even more depressed and insecure. And these are called ironic effects. And these are constructed in a lab. For example, there was a scientist called Wagner who calls in volunteers to his laboratory. He would demonstrate this effect, irony effect, by instructing you not to think about a white bear. Don't think about a white bear. But despite your best efforts, your brain will do exactly the opposite and will produce a force and will produce a fully forged image of a what? A white bear. Actually, you can actually start to see it. Well, this is what happens. And the more you try to banish the bear from your brain, now it is with you, the more persistently it will return. We are all aware of this phenomenon in our daily lives. Sometimes to our utter confusion and bafflement. As we walk, actually towards the edge of a cliff, the firm purpose of not falling off, the thought, jump off, sometimes comes up. This is interesting. Or as we carefully start to dry our crystal vase, the perverse thought occurs, go and drop it. This happens. Or in a tense social situation where we need to be in our best behavior, we feel an overwhelming urge to say something completely inappropriate. Mercifully, most of us, most of the time, is not actually saying or doing the things we want to suppress. So, why are we afflicted with this perverse kind of narrative which comes up? It is an unfortunate byproduct and on how the powerful processes in your brain are working to help you achieve your purpose. So, for example, when your purpose is not to think of the white bear, your brain's operating process tries to help you do that by constantly instructing you to put that thought out of your mind, or by generating other thoughts to distract you. But your brain's monitoring system is simultaneously examining the progress. Am I succeeding in I am not thinking about a white bear? Which of course immediately introduces image back into your mind again. And you try even harder to banish the bear. And it goes on. Eventually your executive functioning of the brain gives up the effort and allows the white bear to be permanently squatting right in front of your mind. And we frequently have this white bear experience when we try to stop a particular worry. Like your teenage son is late coming home. You worry he may have had an accident. You tell yourself not to worry. Your monitoring system checks your progress. Have I stopped worrying about him having an accident? Instantly, an image of him walking home alone along a dark road pops up into your mind. You try even harder to banish that thought. But now, even more alarming images start to appear in your mind. A car driven by a drunk driver is, is, is going towards him, and so on, until eventually you give up and allow your mind to flood with these absurd images. None of it happens. So, the fundamental reason why this happens is that the two brain processes, the executive self and the monitoring system, are not equal in nature. So, your operating process relies on your executive self, who's like a manufacturing manager in a complaints department. His job is to keep a lot of people happy in a very pressurized environment. He has to use a lot of effort and conscious control to achieve that. But as you already know, your poor executive self is easily exhausted from this kind of efforts. So your monitoring process, on the other hand, is like a CCTV security team, effortlessly searching for any lapses in the operation. Every piece of negative information is logged and is sent to the manager. The more stressed the manager becomes, the more your monitoring process floods his exhausted mind with information that is contrary to what they want to achieve. So, all of this, what does it mean? There are three ways in which we can avoid the white bear effect. Number one, you can define your desired state of mind behaviorally. You can frame your purpose positively. You can avoid mental overload. So, what does defining your state mean? So, the executive self and the monitoring system work better together when they are trying to produce actions. So, rather than thoughts and feelings, when you want to achieve a specific state of mind, such as being happier or calmer or more open minded, close your eyes and visualize in your mind's eye what you would look like and sound like and act like if you achieved the desired state. Where are you when you visualize this? Who are you speaking to or listening to? What are you saying? Are you asking questions? What expression is on your face? What gestures are you using? And the more detail you imagine, the better. So if you have trouble visualizing any aspect of this, pick someone who seems to you to be happy, calm and open-minded in the way, and observe them carefully. How exactly are they behaving? Then visualize yourself copying those actions. In that way, you are using your capacity to mirror someone to help you achieve a positive purpose. And this is not cheating. This is exactly what humans do. We do it all the time without we realizing we are doing it. Now we are actually taking a conscious effort to do this. So what this exercise does is link your desired state of mind, which is a positive state of mind, positivity, with the real behavior. In this way, when you remind yourself of your positive purpose, it'll be automatically converted into your behavioral goals. Your executive self can immediately go to work and to make that behavior happen. And your automatic monitoring system will happily oblige with a constant readout of your progress and not white bears. The second aspect is framing your positive purpose, or in other words, framing your purpose in a positive light. And this scientist, which I talked about, Wegner, found that when people express what they want to achieve in a positive way, the two systems in the brain start to work together. Suppose, for example, that your positive purpose is to be less critical, even though it is expressed negatively it is still a positive purpose. Now, suppose you express that positively, to be open and positive. Now, your executive self then concentrates your attention on searching for positive evidence that you are succeeding. To be open and positive, to be open and positive. Yes, I really listened positively to what he said and did not jump to conclusions. Meanwhile, your open monitoring system now has a much bigger job to search for any thoughts and actions that are not open and positive. Looking for anything that is not something is a very, very broad ranging search. So, covering not just thoughts and actions that are the opposite of what we have to achieve, being defensive, prejudiced, opinionated, but are the whole range of other thoughts and emotions that come up that are neutral or irrelevant, to being open minded, being curious, interested, bored, hungry, aroused. So, in any manner of speaking, you keep your overactive monitoring system so busy that it has no time creating white bear effects. In contrast, if you frame the purpose negatively, like be less critical, you hand the power over to automatic monitoring system. Now your executive self has to divide its effort into trying not to be critical and figuring out ways to be the opposite, that is more open. Meanwhile, your monitoring system has much simpler job checking out if you are succeeding in being less critical, because that is the purpose, and is now focused like a laser on searching out every last critical, defensive, intolerant thoughts. The result is a barrage of those very thoughts which you are trying to avoid. So you have something which whispers in your ear, I don't agree with that, not that either. That's nonsense. Go on, contradict. Tell him he's all wrong and you are right. Go on. So setting out a positive intention to create a particular state of mind is much more likely to succeed than setting out to eliminate negative state of mind. That is why two principles of flourishing are both framed positively. Actively build the positive and actively contain the negative. And the last way in which to avoid the white bear effect is to avoid mental overload. And our purpose is to change the way we think, the way we feel, so that we can achieve a desired state of mind. It is important to pay attention, to concentrate, to give time to something. So the mental capacity is substantially reduced and depleted by the mental overload, the time pressure, too many distractions and stress. But when we are mentally overloaded, our capacity does not decline. Rather, our efforts often end up producing exactly the opposite result to what we intended. That cognitive load is very difficult to manage, and it undermines our struggles against an unwanted state of mind, depression, worry, irritability, and turns it into an invitation for those states to be overwhelming us. So when you suffer from mental overload, this tilts the control away from your executive self and it hands it over to the automatic monitoring process. To regain control, you have to reverse that by replenishing the supplies to your executive self. Time to step back and reflect. An opportunity to recover. Using some of the techniques we have discussed in all of these: meditation, mindfulness. However, in the long term, emergency measures are not enough. The very best way to strengthen our executive functioning is to build a capacity for mindful thinking. So that the second source of your executive self needs is discipline and habits. In other words, it needs to create sustainable systems. Given how easily distracted we have to bring our positive purpose under control of time, place, and ritual. The more we associate practicing our positive purpose with a particular time, place, and ritual, the more successfully we will implement it. For example, if your positive purpose is to become an active listener to your children, select a time of day in the half hour after the children come home from school. A place, maybe the playroom, maybe the living room, wherever. A ritual, calling it a talk time or after the bedtime story, wherever, creating that ritual. In that way, we lend your purpose the power of discipline and habit, and it becomes less susceptible to distractions or forgetting or negative mood. So, creating a positive purpose in day-to-day activities. So as we go about our normal day, there are two layers to every task and interaction. The external layer, that is what we have to do. Take any conversation, what are we saying is conveying the message of the interaction, giving feedback to work colleague, telling somebody to do something, asking for a favor, looking for information, but there is also an internal layer to the conversation. And what psychologists call as meta message, not to be confused with social media. This is unconsciously happening. We pay much attention to this meta message as we do to the message we are trying to convey. In particular, we constantly monitor two kinds of meta messages: those conveying closeness and those conveying status. So is what the other person saying or how they are behaving making us feel closer to them or pushed away? Are we feeling equal and respected or put in up or down positions? Every interaction offers the opportunity to create a sense of closeness and liking, or equality and respect, preferably both. And that makes a very positive, useful daily interaction. But there are other layers in everyday activities. Recall again the main drives that we have understood is the bond we create, what we want to achieve together, what we learn and protect, what we value. And each of these can be considered a positive purpose. So thinking about and finding a positive purpose can transform all of our relationships into a close friend and collaborator, a simple task into an interesting one, a neutral day into a great day, and a routine life into a flourishing life. So, hope you are able to take something away from this interesting flow of thoughts, and I hope you were able to be with me. Thank you for sharing your space. And these are some ideas, some thoughts from in terms of flourishing, in terms of understanding what we are doing. So we discussed a little bit of everything. We discussed the white bear effect, escaping the white bear. We escaped the white bear. We framed our purpose positively. We defined our mind in positive actions, state of mind, and we avoided mental overload. And we try to incorporate some of it into day to day activities. All of it underpinned through the power of your mind. You are much more stronger than you think. So take this out, play with it, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Nikhil. If you like what we do, please come back. Please share your thoughts. Please let me know what sort of interesting things you would like us to discuss in these sessions. So, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your contributions. Until next time, take it easy.